The door in the face technique. So you want something from someone, but you know they're a stingy bastard. Instead of asking for what you actually want, you first ask for something outrageous. Something you know they'll slam the proverbial door in your face about. Hey neighbor, can I borrow your car for a cross-country road trip to a lizard person convention? When they inevitably tell you to screw off, you hit them with your real request. Oh, okay. Well, can I at least borrow a cup of sugar? Suddenly, the sugar seems like a ridiculously reasonable concession. They feel like they've won the negotiation, and you feel like a master manipulator who just got a free ingredient for your chemically questionable Kool-Aid. It works because our brains are wired for reciprocity. They made a concession, rejecting your insane first offer, so now you get one in return. It's like a Jedi mind trick, but with more potential for awkward neighborly relations. The scarcity principle. Ever notice how a vaguely interesting looking cookie becomes the most delicious must-have confection on the planet the second you realize there's only one left? That's the scarcity principle, my friend. Our lizard brains equate rarity with value. If something is in short supply, it must be good. This is the bread and butter of every limited time offer, every only 3 left in stock notification, and every Beanie Baby collector who convinced themselves they were sitting on a furry gold mine. You can use this to your advantage by making your time, your attention, or even your half-eaten bag of chips seem like a hot commodity. Oh, you want my help moving this weekend? I don't know, I've got a lot of offers. Suddenly, the privilege of lifting your heavy, oddly shaped furniture becomes a prize to be won. It's basic supply and demand, but for your own mediocre existence. The reciprocity norm. Picture this. Some rando at the airport hands you a flower before asking for a donation. Your brain, in its infinite squishiness, short circuits. A gift! I am indebted to this flowery stranger. This is the reciprocity norm in action. We are socially conditioned to return favors no matter how unsolicited or unwanted. It's why your grandma still sends you a check for $10 on your birthday, and why you feel a pang of guilt when you don't send her a thank you card you know she'll just throw away. This can be weaponized with devastating efficiency. Do someone a small, seemingly insignificant favor, and they'll be putty in your hands when you ask for something bigger later. Hey, I noticed you were out of printer ink, so I bought you a new cartridge. By the way, could you co-sign on this highly questionable business loan? Their brain will be too busy trying to balance the social ledger to realize they're about to make a terrible life decision. Anchoring bias. You walk into a store and see a t-shirt that costs $200 for a piece of cotton with a stupid bird on it? That's insane, you scoff. Then, right next to it, you see a similar shirt for $50. Suddenly, $50 seems like a steal, a veritable bargain for the ages. You've just been anchored, my dude. The first piece of information we receive heavily influences our subsequent judgments, even if that initial information is completely arbitrary. It's why car salesmen start with an absurdly high price before generously knocking it down, and why you're more likely to buy a second cheeseburger if the first one was priced like a small car. You can use this by setting a high anchor in any negotiation. My starting salary expectation is a cool $1,000,000, a pet giraffe, and a lifetime supply of pudding cups. When you then settle for a slightly above average salary and no giraffe, they'll feel like they got a deal. The foot in the door technique. The opposite of its more aggressive door slamming cousin, the foot in the door technique is all about the slow burn. You start with a small, almost laughably easy request. Hey, can you tell me the time? Once they've complied, you've got your foot in the door. They've already established a pattern of agreeableness. Now you can escalate. Thanks. Speaking of time, could you spare a few hours to help me bury this large, oddly shaped lawn gnome? It works because of our desire for self-consistency. We've already shown ourselves to be helpful, agreeable people, so we're more likely to continue acting that way, even if the requests get progressively weirder. It's how cults get started, and how you can get your roommate to finally clean the bathroom. Start by asking them to pass the toilet paper, and by next week, they'll be scrubbing the grout with a toothbrush, wondering where it all went so right. Gaslighting. This one's a real doozy, straight out of the villain's handbook. Gaslighting is when you manipulate someone into questioning their own sanity. It's a slow, insidious process of denying reality, twisting facts, and making your target feel like they're losing their mind. I never said that, you're just imagining things. You're being overly sensitive, it was just a joke. Everyone agrees with me, you're the one who's crazy. The goal is to erode their confidence in their own perceptions until they become completely dependent on your version of events. It's named after a 1938 play where a husband systematically dims the gaslights in his home, while insisting to his wife that she's the one who's imagining it. It's a favorite tactic of dictators, cult leaders, and that one friend who always forgets it's their turn to buy around. Use this one with extreme caution, unless your goal is to create a cowering, psychologically broken shell of a human being who will do your bidding without question. Which, let's be honest, is probably why you're reading this in the first place. The halo effect. Ever notice how we automatically assume attractive people are also smart, funny, and would never, ever commit tax fraud? That's the halo effect. Our overall impression of a person, often based on a single superficial trait, bleeds over into our judgment of their other qualities. A well-dressed person is probably more competent. A person with a firm handshake is probably more trustworthy. It's a mental shortcut that saves our brains from having to do the hard work of, actually getting to know someone. Marketers exploit this by hiring celebrities to endorse everything from sneakers to laxatives. If my favorite action star uses this brand of hemorrhoid cream, it must be the best. You can create your own halo by focusing on one positive, highly visible trait. Dress impeccably, have a charming smile, or learn one really impressive magic trick. People will subconsciously fill in the rest of the blanks with other positive attributes, even if your personality is as bland as unseasoned tofu. The sleeper effect. This one is a slow-acting poison for the mind. The sleeper effect describes how a persuasive message from a low credibility source can actually become more persuasive over time. Initially, you might dismiss an argument because it came from a sketchy, untrustworthy source like a late night infomercial or your conspiracy theorist uncle. As if I'd believe that aliens built the pyramids, Uncle Kevin. But as time passes, your brain, being the lazy sack of meat it is, remembers the message but forgets the source. The what sticks, but the who fades away. A few weeks later, you might find yourself thinking, the structural integrity of the pyramids is suspiciously advanced for its time. This is why propaganda and fake news are so damn effective. The initial skepticism wears off, but the seed of the idea remains, slowly growing into a big, dumb tree of misinformation in the fertile soil of your forgetful brain. Lowballing. The lowball is a classic of the used car salesman's arsenal, and it's as grimy as it is effective. You get a customer to agree to an initial, very attractive offer. You can have this slightly used 1998 Toyota Corolla for the low, low price of $500. The customer, giddy with the prospect of such a great deal, mentally commits to the purchase. They're already imagining themselves cruising down the street, windows down, listening to Smash Mouth. Then you pull the rug out from under them. Oh, but that price doesn't include the engine, the wheels, the new car smell, fee. The initial offer was just the bait. Now that they're committed, they're more likely to accept the less than stellar final price, because they've already made the decision to buy. It's a dirty trick that preys on our desire for consistency and our aversion to backing out of a deal. The just world fallacy. The just world fallacy is the comforting yet completely delusional belief that the world is a fair place where good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. It's the mental security blanket that lets us sleep at night, assuring us that as long as we're not a complete scumbag, we'll be safe from random misfortune. This cognitive shortcut is why, when we see someone suffering, a little voice in our head might whisper, well, they probably did something to deserve it. It's a way of distancing ourselves from the terrifying randomness of the universe. You can exploit this by subtly framing your rivals or enemies as deserving of their hardships. Oh, Johnson got passed over for that promotion? Well, I did see him take 2 donuts from the break room that one time. It's a scummy move for sure, but it can effectively turn public opinion against someone by appealing to our deep-seated and deeply flawed need for cosmic justice. Projection bias. Projection bias is our brain's narcissistic tendency to assume that everyone else thinks and feels the same way we do right now. When you're starving, you can't imagine a world where you're not hungry, so you buy enough groceries to feed a small army. When you're head over heels in love, you assume your partner feels the exact same level of gooey-eyed adoration, even if they're just in it for your Netflix subscription. This is a powerful tool for manipulation because it allows you to get people to agree to things in a hot emotional state that their future cold self will regret. Get your friend to agree to go on a spontaneous skydiving trip while they're drunk and full of bravado. By the time they sober up and the cold terror sets in, they'll already be committed. It's like making a deal with a temporarily insane version of the person you want to control. The fear then relief technique. This one's a real roller coaster for the amygdala. First, you induce a state of fear or anxiety in your target. Oh my god, is that a spider on your shoulder? Then, just as their heart is about to pound out of their chest, you remove the threat. Oh, wait, never mind, it's just a piece of lint. In that moment of profound relief, their critical thinking skills are shot to hell. Their brain is still reeling from the emotional whiplash, making them incredibly susceptible to any request you make immediately after. Phew, that was close. Hey, while I've got you, could you lend me 20 bucks? They're so grateful to not be in the clutches of a non-existent arachnid that they'll likely agree without a second thought. It's a two-punch combo of emotional manipulation that leaves your target too disoriented to say no. The "that's not all" technique. A staple of late-night infomercials, the "that's not all" technique is a masterclass in perceived value. The seller presents a product at a certain price, but before you can even process whether it's a good deal, they start throwing in extras. You get the super slicer for just $19.99. But that's not all. If you order now, we'll throw in the Julian Einator, the Dicerama, and a lifetime supply of regret absolutely free. The trick is that the initial price was always intended to include all the extras. By presenting them as add-ons, they create the illusion of a bargain that's just too good to pass up. This plays on our old friend, the reciprocity norm. The seller has generously improved the deal, so we feel a subconscious obligation to reciprocate by, buying the damn thing. It's a simple yet brutally effective way to make a mediocre offer seem like the deal of a century. The disrupt then reframe technique. This technique is all about throwing a wrench in someone's mental gears. You start with a slightly confusing or unusual statement that disrupts their normal script for a situation. Instead of saying, "this box of cookies is $5, you say, this box of cookies is 500 pennies. For a brief moment, their brain stumbles. Pennies? Why is he talking about pennies? Am I having a stroke? Then, while they're still discombobulated, you hit them with the reframe. That's $5. It's a bargain. Because their cognitive resources are tied up trying to figure out the whole penny situation, they're less likely to argue with the bargain part. Their brain is too busy doing mental gymnastics to put up a fight. It's like trying to solve a riddle while someone is tickling you. You're just not at your sharpest. The peak technique. Similar to the disrupt then reframe, the peak technique is about breaking someone out of their mindless automatic refusal script with a strange or unusual request. Panhandlers have been known to use this with surprising success. Instead of asking for any spare change, they might ask for 17 cents. The specificity of the request piques the target's curiosity. 17 cents? Why 17? Is it for a tiny, oddly priced gumball? This momentary curiosity is often enough to get them to engage with the request instead of just walking by on autopilot. And once they've engaged, they're much more likely to comply. It's a way of using our natural inquisitiveness to short-circuit our equally natural desire to ignore people asking us for stuff. So next time you need a favor, try being weirdly specific. Can I borrow your car for exactly 2 hours and 14 minutes? The doorway effect. This one is less of a deliberate manipulation and more of a bizarre quirk of our own brains that can be exploited. You've probably experienced it. You walk into a room with a clear purpose, only to immediately forget what you were going to do. That's the doorway effect. Our minds apparently treat doorways as event boundaries, filing away the thoughts from the previous room to make space for the new one. You can use this to your advantage by leading someone through a doorway. When you want to subtly change the subject or make them forget a point they were about to make. Are you losing an argument? Hey, let's continue this in the kitchen. I'm feeling a bit parched. By the time you get there, their brilliant argument-winning point may have vanished into the ether, leaving you free to steer the conversation in a completely new, less losing direction. Psychological reactance. Ever had someone tell you that you have to do something and your immediate gut reaction is, "don't tell me what to do"? That's psychological reactance. We have a fundamental need to feel free and in control of our own choices. And when we feel that freedom is being threatened, we're motivated to reassert our autonomy, often by doing the exact opposite of what we're being told. This is why reverse psychology is a thing. If you want a stubborn person to do something, one of the most effective methods is to forbid them from doing it. Whatever you do, don't press that big, red, shiny button. Suddenly, pressing that button becomes the most alluring, irresistible act imaginable. It's a classic case of our own defiant nature being used against us. Information avoidance. As much as we like to think of ourselves as rational beings who crave knowledge, the truth is, we often actively avoid information that might make us feel bad or challenge our cherished beliefs. This is information avoidance or the ostrich effect. We don't check our bank account after a big shopping spree. We avoid going to the doctor when we have a weird new mole. We refuse to read articles that contradict our political views. This creates a cozy but ultimately delusional reality bubble. You can exploit this by knowing that people are more likely to accept a convenient lie than an inconvenient truth. Frame your desired outcome as the path of least resistance, the one that won't force them to confront uncomfortable facts or make difficult changes. They'll often choose blissful ignorance, making them much easier to lead. The illusion of transparency. This is the egocentric belief that our internal states are way more obvious to others than they actually are. When we're nervous giving a speech, we're convinced that everyone can see our heart pounding and our knees knocking. When we're telling a lie, we feel like our deceit is written all over our face. In reality, people are mostly oblivious, trapped in their own little worlds and paying far less attention to us than we think. You can use this to your advantage by projecting an aura of confidence, even when you're internally a quivering mess. As long as you don't give any overt cues, most people will take your performance at face value. Conversely, you can also use it to subtly pressure others by acting as if their true intentions are painfully obvious to you, even if you have no idea what they're thinking. Come on, John, we both know why you really took the last donut.